Hello and welcome to Ideagen TV, powered by Azure, presented globally by Microsoft. Today we're thrilled to welcome Chaitra Vedullapalli, CMO of Meylah and the co-founder of Women in Cloud, as she leads up an incredible power panel as part of the Ideagen Cloud, AI, and Innovation 2030 Summit Series.
Thank you, Ideagen, for having us. Women in Cloud is extremely honored to be here. Women in Cloud is a community-led economic development organization designed to create $1 billion in economic access for female tech founders in partnership with Fortune brands and communities. So we focus in 3 areas. The first one is really helping tech entrepreneurs and the innovation really developed by female tech founders to foster economic development. Second is to build partnership with Fortune brands and communities to create cloud tech jobs. And third is a nonpartisan policy advocacy to advance policies that create and retain economic access for women. And today we are here to educate the potential of integrating solutions developed by women to drive economic development. As you know, the global cloud computing market is valued at $266 billion in 2019. It also is expected to expand at a compounding annual growth at 14.9% from 2020 to 2027. So the recent COVID pandemic further, advanced the digital transformation on a global scale. So we are at a cusp of creating billion-dollar economic impact with women at the helm of the digital revolution that is happening. So today I'm going to be joined with distinguished panelists who are going to really talk about solutions that transform the $1 billion industry with these solutions. So I would like to invite Rajiv Kapoor, Amy Spurling, and Pradnya Desh to join me today. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I would love to start with Pradnya is, introduce yourself and your solution and the market you're disrupting today.
Sure. I'm Pradnya Desh, the CEO of Advocat AI. Our cloud solution is an AI that provides conversation-driven legal intake research and drafting for enterprise legal departments. The legal service market in the United States is about $437 billion, of which around $320 billion is spent by enterprises. And half of that is spent on their own internal legal departments, and the other half is spent on legal services from law firms. But even though I'm an attorney and the CEO of a legal tech company, I don't consider those hundreds of billions of dollars spent on legal services to be a good thing.
Thank you, Pradnya. We are really excited to have you. Amy, how about you? Talk about yourself and the market you're disrupting with your solution.
Sure. Hi, I'm Amy Spurling, the co-founder and CEO of Compt. My background is that I'm a 3-time former CFO and really managed finance and HR teams over multiple companies and saw a really big shift happening in the way employee compensation was being structured over the past decade. At Compt, we're aiming to make that a much more inclusive opportunity for employees to really receive all of their compensation. So looking specifically at employee perks and helping companies really streamline that. So helping them streamline, create, and manage employee perk stipends so that every employee can get full access to their compensation and get the things they want and most need when they need them.
Amy, really excited to have you today. And last but the least is Rajiv Kapoor. Welcome today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. I'm Rajiv Kapoor, CEO of Chai Angels. We're an early stage investment fund, and one of our focus areas is investing in female founders. We've invested in 48 female founders to date, and we pride ourselves on helping those founders through the difficult early stage so they can move on and prosper. Secondly, we're really interested in encouraging the conversation around females and investing, because that's the other side of the coin that has a lot of opportunity. And finally, we're just really thankful to be part of the community with Ideagen and Women in Cloud and others that are helping us move in the right direction. So
thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Pradnya, for joining me today. I want to really know a little bit more about you, and probably the audience also wants to know So let's say I'm giving you $1 million today. What market will you disrupt, and how are you going to go about disrupting that? So Amy, I'll start with you first.
Sure. I think for me, the space that I'm most passionate about is around employee compensation and trying to make that a lot more inclusive, really, reach a more diverse set of employees. And so that's where I would certainly invest the funds. The other half of that, though, is something that Rajiv spoke to as well. If it was starting from scratch and not building the company I'm building now, it would be around investing in more female founders, because you need more investors, you need more money going into female-founded companies to start really changing the face of technology. A lot of technology is built by a very small subset of humanity, and we need more types of people being represented in technology to make sure that our technology reflects us.
Amy, I am with you because people just talk about salary, but in the tech industry, we should be talking the overall compensation package. I am glad you're leading this charter and really excited to have you here. Rajiv, what about you? If you are given $1 million, what is the market you're disrupting? I know you're already doing it, but what's the market you're going to disrupt?
Yeah. So jokingly, I was going to say any dessert that's chocolate, but in reality, if you look at the areas that I'm seeing a lot of excitement, health and wellness and is really one. And just a lot of our female founders are helping, either the consumer, wellness and health, or they're, helping HR departments. If it's like B2B and SaaS and cloud, they're helping with like, how do employees feel better, and how do companies make sure that they're feeling okay and productive?
Totally. I'm with you on it, and I'm excited that you're part of the ecosystem and we are leading the journey together. So Pradnya, what about you? I know you are really disrupting a very big market, but let's say I give you $1 million today. What would that do for you?
Well, it's funny that you ask exactly that question of what would I do with $1 million, because it just happens to be exactly the situation I'm in right now. Advocat just raised its first round of investment, $1.3 million seed round. So our investors entrusted us because I'm driven to disrupt the enterprise legal services market. But that's what I'm doing right now. So I don't think that's quite an icebreaker. So a little bit more than that. So if I could direct $1 million with no strings attached and no revenue-based ROI to consider, which is quite different than what my investors are expecting of me, I would give it to any startup that's working to improve medical supply chains in India right now to save people from the terrifying COVID disaster. It'll take a lot more than $1 million for sure to help that situation, but startups are scrappy, and my money would be on one that's working to solve a key piece of that problem.
I love it. I love it. And congratulations for raising the seed round. That's a brilliant news for everyone, especially in the current market where women are not getting access to funding. So having that access has been spectacular. So congratulations. So Amy, Pradnya, this is something I want to know more is tell us the story behind why you chose the market you chose that you're disrupting, and how are you going about disrupting that market in depth, so that the audience really need to understand and get inspired to take those kind of actions that you have taken. So Pradnya, I'll go with you first, and then Amy, you can conclude with the question.
Okay. Around 12 years ago, I was a U.S. diplomat championing U.S. economic policy at the UN Committee on Trade and Development and at the World Trade Organization. So at the time, I knew a lot about public policy, but I wanted to spend some time in the private sector just to really understand the microeconomic level of the economy. And I'm an attorney. So at that point, I left Geneva, moved to Seattle, and started a business law firm. And there, in that process, I was really shocked by what I saw. There's so much economic opportunity available in the US due to stable legal rules and market conditions. But legal services, my industry, are often the friction in the system, slowing down the processes and making them expensive and reducing access. So I mentioned when I introduced myself that I don't consider the hundreds of billions of dollars spent on legal services to be a good thing, especially as an attorney. And here's really why. The law and the rule of law is a necessity. It's the glue that holds society together and the rules that sets the boundaries for businesses to operate, work with each other, and provide products, services, and to other businesses and to people. And contracts are just operationalizing agreements so that businesses operate smoothly, fairly, and within rules. So in other words, law is fundamental. And we need to reduce the friction that makes it slow, expensive, inaccessible to some, and inefficient. And once I saw that personally up close, I just could not leave it the way it is. So I'm compelled to be part of that solution. So Advocat, what do? We are conversation-driven legal intake, research, and drafting. We're starting with solving one piece of the puzzle. The way that our system works is that a person in a sales department or procurement department who needs legal documents talks to our system. The system has a back and forth conversation with that person, and then it understands legal intent that drafts legal documents using information pulled in from the company's data, the company's legal templates, and then it updates itself with the law. After all of that, it delivers the document and legal references ready for an attorney to hit an approve button or edit it and then hit the approve button. That process saves in-house legal departments around 94 hours per month each attorney. That accelerates business, and it also has the bonus of saving the company millions to hundreds of millions of dollars per year, because the savings with legal AI are so large because legal services are so expensive.
That was very, very insightful, and something I didn't know about you, that you actually work with the US, UN ecosystem. That's fantastic to know about that. Amy, what about you?
Sure. So, I've been in technology companies for about 20 years. I've, been a CFO a couple of times, a COO a couple of times. And, spending all of my time managing finance and HR teams in these scaling companies. And I saw, firsthand, being in technology, many of my teams were pretty homogenous. And it wasn't because the founders didn't care about diversity on their teams, but it really becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy from the early stages in the way compensation is structured. So if everybody's got their salary range, they know what it is when they walk in the door. You can Google that. Companies are offering health insurance. And so everybody's looking at, hey, how do I differentiate? And that's where they get into employee perks. And of course, you pay for perks for people you have. So if your team smarts out homogenous across any part of the spectrum, then you're going to pay for things that make those people happy. And then you're going to attract more of the same people. And it just becomes this vicious cycle where, of course, you're attracting more and more of the same group. And it's really hard to break out of that once you become a scaling company. And I saw the frustration within my teams because they weren't getting the things that they needed and wanted, as well as on the financial side, where every perk that you're bringing in, if you're lucky, 10% of the team uses it, no matter how great that perk is. And so I wanted to create a system where we can really achieve personalization. Every employee needs something different. Every employee needs something different at a different point in their life. And so how do you create that personalization, but at the same time manage the complexities of taxes, manage the complexities of how this needs to work within a budget within companies, and make sure that you're handling both sides of that equation. And so that's what we're building at Compt, is really allowing for that to happen at scale. So creating employee perk stipends that companies can use to, align their perks with their company culture, but really let employees get true personalization out of it as well.
Oh, what a great solution, Amy. That's wonderful. And I would love to learn more about in depth after this panel. So thank you for sharing that. Rajiv, this is for you. You've been investing in many female-founded companies. So how do you go spot those companies that are disrupting the market? And what process do you go about identifying these companies that are ready to disrupt the market and start investing in them?
Yeah. And it's perfect. I'd start by saying it really is these founders that are doing it. I'm just here to be a little bit of support when they need it. And if you just look at like Amy and Pradnya right now, they find big problems that need to be solved, and they're talking about these big problems that need to be solved, and they have a good idea of how these problems can be solved. And I really think it's that simple to start with. So it's just like finding people that have an understanding of these problems, and then other things follow, like bringing on the team, raising money, selling to the first customers. But if they're just strong individuals looking for strong individuals that tell me what to do, you know, I'm not the one driving here. So if you find those people, you see that they identified something very strong and they're very passionate about it, and they're, you know, building up the resources, making that progress. It's pretty much a no-brainer, and it's just a matter of timing, in my opinion, of like, how long is it going to take? And maybe their destination is a little bit different than it was planned in the beginning, but they're going to get there.
Totally, Rajiv. I completely agree. It's kind of identifying and working with them. And we are seeing like a lot of cloud solutions spurting everywhere now with pandemic, right? Because everything is becoming remote and technology is the dominant sector really connecting people. So question to all of you, and anyone can go, is what have you seen as a gold standard for helping people develop these cloud solutions so they actually can disrupt a market? So I'll open it up for all of you. Who wants to go first? Pradnya?
Sure. Find something rote and boring that has an outsized impact on people's lives, and then automate that. Because the purpose of tech should be to improve people's lives. So there are tasks that are well suited for humans to do, especially those that require creativity, empathy, even genius. And there are other tasks that are better suited for machines to do, such as anything boring, repetitive, or dangerous. And in every industry, the opportunity is to find those tasks and automate them. Sure, the big obvious ones are done, but now we in the tech industry need to go deeper to find the next layer. And when we do, we're going to unleash such tremendous prosperity for humanity. Because I just truly believe that the best solution to many of the world's most pressing problems is to improve productivity to make more available to everyone.
So true, so true. Rajiv?
I would just follow on to that and say that, yes, there's the underlying technology, and then there are many, many people working on different ideas. And what I see from my side is when an idea is sort of has that fit, and the fit is usually means that customers are, you know, appreciating it. And like, what are your alternatives to that solution? Is there a lot of alternatives, or is that really one of a kind? And if you start to see that, you know, that is taking shape, then you're onto something. So that's something that needs to be supported and encouraged. And so from the investor side, there's a lot of this happening all the time. There are many that don't make it to that stage, and then there's some that are at that stage. And it's really just, you know, finding the ones that have that. And you're going to need the customer interest and engagement and excitement. You know, it's like you put that candy on the shelf, and if it flies off, I mean, that's all we're looking for. We're looking for the candy flies off the shelf, and then, wow, there's something there. And, you know, a lot of investors don't know a lot of the details. So they're looking for that like signal, and then they want to support like crazy.
So true, Rajiv. What about you, Amy?
I mean, I think about it a little bit from kind of left of center from where Pradnya and Rajiv are taking it. I think you definitely, I agree with Pradnya, find a big underserved market, or find something that's really, you know, manual and automate it. That's a big piece of it. To me, it's also like when you're building your own company, I think about the gold standard for how you want to kind of be able to expand your own growth. And it's finding tools that do automate a lot of those things so that you can spend the time on the big vision and on the market that you want to disrupt, but don't spend all of your time trying to manage all this internal process stuff. And that's where tools like Slack, I think, are just absolutely instrumental in creating the way we do work now in a distributed workforce. And so pulling in third-party tools that really have we're kind of that first wave of innovation, within a certain time period, and leveraging that so that you can spend all of your time disrupting the market that you're focused on at the same time, and not spending your time on the basics. I mean, you've got cloud tools that cover every part of an organization at this point, which is fantastic. That should allow you to do the next level of innovation.
So true. Let me summarize what I took away, right? When you're looking at building cloud solution, I can say with my personal experience, we do events and we had a lot of those manual tasks. We had to put everything in Excel spreadsheet for managing hundreds and hundreds of speakers. It couldn't be. So we had to go and automate that entire process because it was a boring task. It was a repetitive task. And then we built a whole technology out of it for ourselves and then commercialized it. So kind of things, Pradnya, Amy, and Rajiv, as you're talking about, is look at those manual, boring tasks that people don't want to do it and give the machine to do it. Second is leverage the team so they can collaborate and unlock their higher potential. And look for the signal when you're ready to access the investors to really scale that product for a global audience. So that was brilliant, loved it. So now the question for all of you is, what kind of tasks do you need to create a new market or disrupt the existing business model? Are there anything that you can recommend the audience as they're thinking about new ideas that are coming in front of them? So Amy, I'll start with you first.
Sure. The way I think about it and the way we thought about building Compt was looking at what we were trying to achieve. So some of it was things that were happening manually. Managing employee compensation and taxes around that was a very manual process, but that was only a little piece of the picture. The rest of it was, how do you actually achieve personalization for employees? So looking at a very big problem and then figuring out how you create a solution for that's software based. And so testing out, it's not that it was a brand new market, but it was taking a concept and building a market from there. So the concept of employee compensation, not new, but the idea that it could be personalized was very much a new concept and something that we wanted to disrupt and to change, because the old system wasn't working. It was only working for a small subset of humanity, and we wanted more people to be able to access and reach their full compensation.
Well said. Pradnya.
Well, to create a new market, we look at jobs to be done. To reference Clayton Christensen, really the father of disruption thinking as it applies to markets. We intensely study the problem that people have by understanding what is they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, not necessarily what we can sell them or what they think they need, but what is it that they're trying to do? And I think that's essential in creating a new market, but it's also a good way to disrupt an existing business model.
Take Rajiv.
So yeah, coming from the other side, I honestly couldn't even do what these ladies do and create a new market. It's just not something I'm able to do personally. But when I look around and see companies that are creating a new market, what I feel is that they just look so different than the other companies. Like if you compare a regular, car manufacturer, and then Tesla comes out and they have like the whole vertical stack of how they're going to create everything differently. And same thing with like an iPhone or something. It's really, I can kind of feel like, okay, this is very different than other things I've been seeing. So for me as an investor, it's just like being open, because maybe the different and unique things are not what I expect. So being open to when things are, come to you. If you're on a flight next to Steve Jobs, just like being open to what he's telling you. Maybe it's very odd, and maybe it's unexpected. So that's how I feel about these incredible founders. They're all working on very creative solutions, and if you're open to it, there are a lot of them that are working on very disruptive things. And so as the investor, it's just like being open to that and not necessarily sure how they got there or why. I mean, I love hearing the stories, but just being able to say, yes, that is very different than what is out there.
Thank you. First is thank you for really enlightening all of us with thinking about how to even look at the disruption of a market. But I think it is as simple of a tiny action is to automate a task that nobody wants to do. And it can be outsourced to a machine to do it. That was kind of the essence. And when you have billion people taking those micro actions and automating through technology, the disruption automatically happens. So that one was my moral of the story from all your conversation. So I have is any final words of wisdom and resources you want to share with the audience as they are thinking about disrupting a market. So Rajiv, I'll start with you.
My wisdom would be, take it step by step and get that feedback. So a lot of the companies I've seen, came out with a product and then they went and had like 200 interviews with customers. And then they realized, oh, I see now what the market really wants. and then they come out with like product 2 and it's fantastic. So that would be my single best advice, to continuously get that feedback, because you think you know, and then there's something else out there.
So true, so true. AB?
For me, it's finding the right partners. And by partners, I mean, if you're going to be a venture-backed company, it's finding the right people who are going to be in your corner, but also push you. And so you want to walk that fine line between an investor. Obviously, the cash is important if you're looking for venture funding, but who's going to be your good partner in this, and what do they bring to the table? It can't just be a check, or you're going to end up with the wrong partner. And ultimately, who your investors are and how you're funded has a huge impact on whether or not you're successful as a company, no matter how amazing your idea is. So that's where I think finding those right partners who really understand your space and bring something to the table are critical.
Well said, Amy. What about you, Pradnya?
I say focus on the problem. Love the problem so much. Finding the solution to the problem so much that you aren't going to be wedded to a particular technology or a particular solution. Or if you're focused on the forward motion of what you're trying to do, the rest of it matters a lot less. So you might turn away an investor that would not be the best fit for you. You might not do a pivot that you would be tempted to do, but wouldn't necessarily get you towards that problem. So if you focus on the problem, I think a lot of the other answers fall into line.
So well said. So here are some, let me summarize some of the insights, right? Take feedback. It's very important. The more feedback you get, the better solution your is. And partner with the right people, because they will shape the direction of your company. And love the problem. And I truly believe when you go detail to the precision, to that human who's suffering with that task, and helping them solve with the technology will make all the difference. So again, as distinguished panelists, you did fantastic. And I would like to close the conversation by inviting all of you to join the Women in Cloud and really be part of the economic development movement, and be with us creating and supporting the female tech founders to get access to billions of dollars of opportunity in the Fortune ecosystem. So we are also excited to announce that we are launching our Empower Her Access campaign, which is really designed to collectively take action for supporting the female tech founders. So we are going to be running the COVID research, which will really do a comparison from last year to this year to find the right solution. We are going to have awards really recognizing the best investors, advisors, entrepreneurs, and digital transformation projects that are really led by women to really talk about how they are disrupting the market. We are going to spotlight some of the champions who are making a significant impact and dent in moving and economic access for women. And the last and least, I would like all of you to take a pledge and say you want to be a champion for creating economic access for people around you. So there are 4 ways to get engaged with us. The first one is become an advisor. It's very simple. Give your time to an entrepreneur and help them find the right customer or an influencer or an investor so they can advance their solution in the market. Become a thought leader and speak on our stages in the Ideagen ecosystem, and really ensure that you have an opportunity to make a difference. Your voice will be heard if you are there to talk about what really matters to you. Become an ambassador for the ecosystem and become an ambassador for female tech founders. We need more of you to help each and every entrepreneur to really advance. The more support they get, the more advancement they happen, and the more jobs they create. And last is become the influencer. Your voice matters and your representation matters. So please don't sit on the edges and wait for someone else to save the planet. It is really up to all of us to come together. Again, I'm really excited to have all of you. Please join our digital network. And again, thank you for Ideagen for inviting us to be part of the series and really talking about how we could disrupt the market with cloud solutions developed by women tech founders. Thank you again for watching the panel today.